Hmm. The last headline was pretty dope, though some people would say otherwise. I'm very excited for the new content, but something was missing. Yeah, okay. New field. This was announced way back, right? This is like December, right? I think. Yeah, so new field looks cool. Uh-huh. So we're getting this tomorrow. I'm very excited. Actually get to check this out. Super hype. Oh yeah, we have a new action system coming. What happened to that? Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Colonel here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're just going to do a little bit of speculation as to what we might have on the horizon, both next week and the following month for NGS. But if you guys are new here, as always, I'm Colonel Correct over PSO2 content. Would much appreciate subscribe to work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully, at the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So, not a whole lot to talk about here. I did want to do that little segment at the start because, yeah, we had a new action system coming, and they didn't talk about it at all. But there's actually something very interesting from that system I want to show you guys really quick, which is why I think they didn't talk about it, because it's not really tied to the new area. If you look at it closely, you just go ahead and come over here, take a look. It starts here, and this is definitely not in the new city. This is in why can't I Vanford Lab? I want to say, yeah, Vanford Lab. The Vanford Lab, and then this is in Alia, just in Central. There's us in Redham. Uses of the gun. There's us again in Redham. Again in Redham. So this system here doesn't look like it's specifically tied to the new area. It might come from the new area, like there may be some story reason or something along those lines as to why this showed up suddenly coming from the new area. But realistically, it's not tied to the new area. So I think this is going to be added in with the following month's expansion or the following month's content they'll be releasing, being as we didn't see anything about it in this recent headline, and the recent headline is just about this coming month. So pretty sure that's how things are going to go. Again, this is all subject to change because it hasn't actually been shown off yet or released yet. So we have no idea, as it's currently still in development. At least at this time it was in development, and they hadn't shown it since. However, we do know what is coming, and I do want to talk a little bit about what my speculations were for the new content on the horizon. Now, we've got this new zone called the Nameless City. It is a 32-man zone, at least from what we could see, based on the previews. They did show 32 up in the top left-hand corner. What we understand is you go into the zone, you have a set amount of time in there. I wasn't 100%. I looked back to try to see if I could find any more information as to if we will be, able to increase the amount of time that you're in there or not. But it looks like after a certain amount of time, you are kicked out and sent back to the city. This could be measures to keep people from AFKing in there the entire time, or it could be measures to kind of force kind of like some downtime in the mix where you go in, there's a bit of urgency. You're not just building up points forever. You want to, cash those points out consistently. That way, before the timer runs out or before you die and lose half your points, you are able to use them and get some benefit from them. I do want to correct something I talked about in a previous video. It does look like there are different kinds of crates that you can open up. There was like a standard blue looking crate, but there also was a green one that looked like it was 6,000 points. So it looked like it was more points than the standard blue one, which I believe was 2,000 to 3,000. And when they opened up the green one, they actually got an 11 star. So it might just be like a better crate with better loot chances in it. That might be what they were trying to show off there. But if we break it down bare bones, what the actual new content is, essentially it's a new zone for us to farm in. There are different activities and trials as well with new enemies and new rewards that are mixed into these crates that we can go ahead and pull from. They don't clarify and they don't show off whether or not you actually get loot from enemies or if it's just from crates, so we'll have to see there. But as far as like just what I think is on the horizon, what I think is going to be coming from that content, basically just somewhere for us to go farm. Now, I'm curious if this is going to also take care of another issue I have in the game, which is the whole money situation. I really don't have any speculation on this at all. Really can't tell too much, but they've been pretty good about this recently, where Meseta realistically only comes from one place and you're stuck farming that one place consistently, and it's dex space. Dex space really is kind of the place to farm Meseta at the moment. You get points, you get Meseta. I mean, I'll be farming it today after I finish this video and upload it. So it's just something that everyone realistically needs to do if they want to make a decent amount of money, unless they have their own money making strategies in the mix in other locations. Realistically speaking, this is just kind of the blanket moneymaker for everyone. Now, what does that mean for this new place? Well, this new place is going to have new weapons that will drop, and you will be able to sell those for money. However, we need more than just the money chase. It needs to be like the flow of Meseta is what I'd like to call it. Basically, the raw Meseta that drops from the content needs to be decent enough for us to want to be there as well. If we have both of those things, that will make the new piece of content infinitely more farmable and infinitely more, in my opinion, well received than other pieces of content where you farm it out for everything that you want. And then after a certain point, you're like, you know what? I'm good, man. Like, I can farm it occasionally if I want to get some 11 stars to sell, but like realistically speaking, I've gotten everything I need to get out of it. I don't really want to deal with it anymore moving forward. I don't want it to fall into that. I feel like it can very easily do that. It's something that happens with almost all PSO2 content, realistically speaking, where at first it's very good for farming out with drops and things of that sort. But eventually you get to a certain point where you're like, I farmed these enemies enough. I farmed this area enough. I'm kind of overseeing it at the moment. I'll go back to chilling until the next thing comes around. And I don't want to see that happen. There's a very good chance it will. I mean, it's kind of the thing that tends to happen with PSO2 content is it does get farmed into obscurity almost, as players want to get the most they can out of it. They want to get the drops. They want to fight the enemies. Fun or not, realistically speaking, that's just what tends to happen with a lot of that content. I mean, there is even still drops you can get from the seal right now that are still upwards worth of like 30 mil. So it doesn't really matter what comes from there. Eventually it's going to get farmed out if it doesn't have multi-use cases. So I guess it's less of my predictions and more of like my hopes. Now that I think about how this video is, and I don't know how I'm going to title this, man. The title's all over the place. But I do believe it's going to be fairly good, fairly decent as far as that goes. If SEGA keeps with their recent, I say recent specifically, right? Because I know people like to quote previous situations, but if SEGA keeps with the recent trend of what they've been doing, as in like buffing drop rates, keeping things reasonable to the player, just kind of not dialing back on what they've been doing, kind of consistently moving forward bit by bit, then I do foresee this being a better place to just overall farm in general. I mean, it's kind of, if they do it, it's the first one they've done it on. So we'll have to see. Realistically, this is the first piece of like zone content we've gotten since Astia. They were like, we're not doing any more regions. It's very obvious you guys are very bored of regions, which we were. They're like, we're going to go in a different direction. And that was announced last year. It's been a while, right? Since we heard about that. We've been stuck with the 4 regions we have for quite some time. So I do believe it's very important for them to get this first region right. I do believe there's going to be a lot of testing with this first region. There's going to be a lot of trial, and there's going to be some error in the mix. So I do expect things not to be absolutely perfect. I do expect things to kind of fall short in a certain location, certain places. So if it all goes over super well, then I will be pleasantly surprised, honestly, as far as that process goes. But I do expect there to be some shortcomings that they're going to have to work their way through. What I would like to see again is I would like to see the raw Meseta gains be fairly decent from this. That way, you can farm without having to worry about going back to other locations. I want this to be the new place to be. Like, outside of just the instant stuff for us to do, I feel like this should be the place that we want to be consistently, whether it comes down to the drops, whether it comes down to just the overall fun of fighting the enemies, whether it comes down to the Meseta farm that you would get from it as well. I know some people are like, oh, well, it's good for Meseta farm to be better in other locations. But when new content comes out, I think the worst feeling ever is being like, okay, I need money. Now I got to go back and do the old stuff. So I really hope that's not the case. I'm really hammering this home. So I'm really hoping that's not the case when it comes down to it. As far as anything else, we kind of talked about the future of gearing in a previous video and my thoughts on how the EX augments are going to work, but I'll lightly touch on it here in case you guys didn't watch that video. But each weapon is going to drop 3 augments. I believe these weapons are going to drop fairly standardly. I think it's going to be a lot similar to like the Rayar situation where people were getting Rayars kind of pretty quickly from Gorge. But I believe this is going to be a situation where you get the new weapon to drop. You'll see if it has the 3 effects that you want on it, and if it does, great, you'll transform over. And if it doesn't, then you'll probably go ahead and put this up on the market to sell. People will either try to purchase your weapon for the augments on it or for the weapon itself, meaning you'll have to do some really hardcore searching on the shop to find what it is you're looking for and see how things go. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare figuring out how much everything is worth. Certain augments are definitely going to be worth more than others when you look into damage or defensive utility. And we're going to have to crunch the numbers and figure out what exactly the optimal setup is going to be. We'll definitely be looking at that on the channel. We'll talk about it. We'll do the math as we always do and see how things come out. But I am very excited for this new piece of content. It's going to be super awesome. There's a lot of quality of life on the way too. We've got a lot going on with the auto sell feature is going to be changing up things. I don't think I talked about card revolution at all. Now that I think about it, I guess card revolution is next month. I actually totally spaced on it. I don't think they spoke about card revolution in the slightest. So I guess card revolution is next month along with the new stuff. So yeah, I guess we do have some more things on the horizon. So no card revolution, at least I don't think right now, unless they just are going to release it without talking about it, which I have to admit that is very much a Sega thing to do. So it's possible, but they were kind of like on board with this whole card revolution thing. So I think it's something that they will be very vocal about when it's coming out. And I don't think they're going to want to push too much into the same slot. That way something doesn't take over something else. Trying to think, is there anything else that I missed that I'm super excited for? Oh yeah, the new chapter 7 story. I'll be honest with you guys. Chapter 7 story is gonna be very introductive. It's the first part of chapter 7 story. It's very introductive. It's not gonna have a whole lot. So the major thing is getting into the Nameless City. So I would keep your expectations fairly low. I know some people are looking for a lot of answers to some questions we want to know. I don't think it's coming right now. I think the answers to the questions that we're looking for are going to be on the horizon. They're going to be a little bit later on down the line. It's just introducing us to a new area, and whatever the heck is going on with what's her name. It starts with a P. I forget. You guys are going to tell me in the comments. Her crazy glowing eye is kind of insane. So we'll have to see. Either way, it looks like the embargo on Elden Ring weapons is up, or Elden Ring DLC is up. So people are DMing me now about that. So I'm going to go nerd out about those things. We'll be definitely covering some Elden Ring on the channel. It might have to go to the second channel. 14 didn't do too great, but we'll see how things go. And we'll test some stuff out. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you guys are excited for when it comes to new content. Maybe you're excited for some Elden Ring in the next few weeks. I am definitely going to be checking that out. Or maybe you're excited for Final Fantasy XIV's new expansion at the end of the month. We definitely will be playing that as well. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to keep up with more. I'll see you all next time. Oh, also, we'll definitely be doing like first impressions of the new zones, first time walking it. There'll be more gameplay videos when there's more gameplay to do and it's not just farming deck space. I swear. I promise. We'll be back there again. Take care, my friends. Peace out.